Welcome back to One on One, New York's longest running sports call-in show. I'm Julia Moss, and I'm joined here with Andrew Gullotta, and we are joined by a very, very special guest, Tom Rock. Tom is a columnist for Newsday Sports, covering the Jets, Giants, and everything around the NFL. Before we get into the interview, Tom, thank you so much for taking the time. How are you doing today?
Oh, it's my pleasure to be with you. Very exciting time for football in New York here. I didn't think we'd be talking New York football in the middle of January, but here we are.
Absolutely. And I'm definitely someone who likes to start with maybe the more negative things and end with the good. So with that being said, we're going to start with a little bit of talk about the New York Jets. Through 7 games, the Jets sat at 5-2. And I'm really interested to hear your opinion on, what went wrong to cause like that implosion that we saw towards the end of the season.
Well, I thought the Jets were a really well-built team, a really good team, a team that could have gotten this far into the season if they had one missing ingredient, and that's a quarterback. I think we've seen throughout the league that teams need that one position, and they need stability and consistency from it. It doesn't have to be spectacular play; it just has to be steady play from the quarterback position. And the Jets just weren't able to garner any of that from any of the people on their roster. I think they could have had maybe a glimmer of hope if Mike White had been able to stay healthy, but those cracked ribs, man, they did the whole team and everything sunk from there. So, there's some casualties now that they have to deal with. Their offensive coordinator, they've made a switch. They're right now looking for somebody to bring in. There's a lot of talk about bringing in an offensive coordinator and a quarterback together. And tying them together. I'm really not a proponent of that. That seems like something that's a little bit risky. I think you find the best coach and you find the best quarterback and you put them together and hope you can move forward. But I think that the Jets do have the ingredients to be a better team very quickly. If they can answer that one positional question that they have, and now they have 6 months to do it. So it's going to be a very interesting couple of weeks here in the offseason for the Jets.
And Tom, you talk about the quarterback position for the Jets, and there have been a ton of rumors ranging from Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson all the way to Zach Wilson coming back next season as well. What do you feel like the most likely, situation at quarterback for the Jets? Will it be that big name? Will it be someone in the middle like a Derek Carr, or someone on, maybe the other end of the spectrum like a Mike White or Zach Wilson?
Right. I think that I wouldn't say Derek Carr isn't a big name, because I think that's a pretty good quarterback right there. And then you look at Jimmy Garoppolo too, and what his future is going to be in San Francisco. That's pretty cloudy right now, obviously. So, and a lot of the Jets coaches have ties back there to Garoppolo. I think it's between those two. I wouldn't rule out Tom Brady. He's got family here in New York. I think it'd be very intriguing for him. I think it'd be very intriguing for the Jets to be able to sort of exercise that part of their history and bring him in for a 1-year deal and just throw as much money as they could at him and see if he can turn the Jets into winners. That would be a heck of a story. I always say sports writers, we don't root for teams, we don't root for stories. That would be a story I would root for.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Tom Brady in a Jets jersey. That would be a sight for sure.
At the very least, it would be 2 very intriguing Sunday afternoons at some point against the boys from Foxborough.
Absolutely. And if I'm the Jets, if there's even a glimmer of hope to get Tom Brady here, like I am emptying the bag to try and get him to come over. But we are going to move over to the Giants now. If you're listening to this interview on YouTube, the game wouldn't have happened yet. But if you are listening on the radio Saturday night, you will hear us talk a little bit about the preview of their matchup against the Eagles. And unfortunately, it would have already happened. But going into Philadelphia is never like something ideal during playoff time. But what do you think the keys are for the Giants potentially upsetting the Eagles?
Well, I think the first thing you look at with the Eagles is their pass rush and all those sacks that they have. I think it's 70 sacks which is just a crazy number that they've been able to generate up front. And so the Giants have to figure out a way to protect Daniel Jones and give him time to make plays and make the plays on with his legs that he's been able to make throughout the last month. and escape. So you're going to have to look at Andrew Thomas has been really good on this side, on the left side. John Feliciano, pretty good holding down the middle. Evan Neal on the right side is where the sort of the weak link is on this offensive line right now, especially in terms of pass protection. He's been good at his run blocking, but his pass protection has been off since he came back from his knee injury. So I think you're going to look for the Giants to really add help to him on that side, whether it's chipping or adding a tight end, and they're really going to have to hope that he holds up there, because if the Eagles are in the backfield breaking up plays, then there's really no way for the Giants to score points and to function as an offense and to show the kind of offensive playmaking that they've shown for the last couple of weeks here against teams like the Vikings, teams like the Commanders and the Colts. The Eagles are a different level than those opponents, and so the Giants are going to have to up their game, I think, for them to be successful.
And you talked about those weapons, and if they can keep Daniel Jones kind of upright to get the ball to those weapons, and it's a completely different group of weapons that maybe Giants fans thought to start the season. Isaiah Hodgins has came on, Richie James has came on, Darius Slayton also playing good football from the wide receiving position as well. I mean, what can you say about this success of the new look Giants receiving corps?
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy. I mean, Isaiah Hodgins went from kind of an interesting guy that they picked up during the bye week off of waivers from Buffalo to, he can make some plays and he's doing a few things, and now all of a sudden he's out there, dragging his toes on the sideline and coming down with key catches and in the wild card game. And I mean, he looks like a number one receiver out there. I'm not sure why the Bills gave up on him, why he was waived by them, and why no one foresaw this. Sometimes that just happens. People fall through the scouting, through the fingers of the scouting departments, and the Giants were able to grab him and saw something. I don't think they saw this from him. I'd be surprised if they honestly would say, we knew he would be this type of a player for us. But I think that it's certainly been a pleasant surprise for them to have Isaiah Hodgins step up and become really the number one receiver on this team. And then there's Slayton, who's had kind of a crazy year. Started out, was a little unsure about his place on the team. Was he going to be here? Was he going to get cut? He wound up taking a pay cut just to stay. Kind of bet on himself a little bit, wanted to be here, wanted to be part of this, and has become a huge part of their offensive passing game. And then there's don't forget about Kenny Golladay. I mean, everybody was raving about his block, and it's a little silly to say, they paid him all this money just to block. Well, I think it just shows that he hasn't checked out. He could easily have been sitting back, cashing his checks and not caring about this team and just ready to move on with his life after this season, because it's pretty clear that he's not going to be back with the Giants in 2023. But instead he plays 4 or 5 snaps against the Vikings, makes the most of them, makes a huge block that everybody is raving about on a key play there, gets a first down for the Giants on their go-ahead touchdown drive. So that, I think that's a real tip of the hat to him, for him to stay, just mentally and physically engaged with his team when he really has very little role in the offensive game plan.
Absolutely. And staying on the topic of offensive weapons, the captain of the ship here is really Daniel Jones. And I know Giants fans are so thrilled about his, kind of like unexpected performance here, thriving so much. But with that, it is a contract year for him. He has definitely raised his value so much, especially off the back of this playoff win recently. As someone who reports on the Giants, if you're in that front office, is there a price tag Daniel Jones wants as someone in the front office where you say, no, that's too much? Or do you just give him whatever he wants?
Yeah, I don't think he's a whatever he wants guy just yet. I mean, if we're previewing a Giants game 3 weeks from now, then maybe we can talk about that then. But right now, I mean, he's still spent most of this year as a as a 1 touchdown a game offense, leading that group, and the last couple of weeks he has played really well, but it's been against the Colts and the Vikings. Not to disparage the Vikings as much, but they're not really great elite defenses, and if he can put something together against the Eagles, maybe against the Cowboys and the 49ers next week, if they can win, then I think you're talking about really solidifying him as a long-term option. And you're talking about 5, 6, 7 years on a deal. Right now, I think you just wanted him, this year started as a prove it year. I think he's proved it. He's proved that they can win with him. So you give him a couple of years here, 2 or 3 years maybe, just to get through and see if he can maintain this level of play, because it's been fun to watch over the last couple of weeks, but there needs to be more consistency, I think, to that top level of play. He's played well all year in terms of turnovers and eliminating his turnovers and being a game manager. It's only the last couple of weeks that they've had to turn to him to really guide the offense in terms of production, and he's been able to do that. So that's been promising. But I think in the back of their minds, the Giants may still think that they can do a little better at the quarterback position than Daniel Jones if something comes along in the next couple of years, and so they're going to keep their options open for that.
No, that definitely makes sense. And I also wanted to move over to the defensive side of the ball. I think Daniel Jones and the offense have definitely got their flowers, but the defense last week played really solid, held Justin Jefferson in check, held Dalvin Cook in check, Adam Thielen, same thing. And obviously they're going to face a very similar group with the Eagles. Talk about all the weapons that they have, starting with Jalen Hurts and going through A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. I mean, what does the defense have to do to have that similar success like they did last week?
Well, I was really surprised last week at how little they blitzed, because that was a very un-Wink Martindale type of approach there. But they were able to get a lot of pressure with their front four, and that's always been the key to the Giants' successes in the postseason. Even when you go back to their days against Tom Brady and the Patriots in those 2 Super Bowls, being able to cloud the secondary and rush only 4 players and still get pressure on the quarterback. That's always been the MO of this team. So I think that they were able to do that, and they had a healthy Leonard Williams, and they had Dexter Lawrence has just been a monster in the middle. He's an animal. He just wrecks games up the middle. And looking at him against Kelsey this week against the Eagles, if I had one camera to watch this game through, and it was focused on one matchup, I think that would be the one I'd want to be watching. Unfortunately, during the live game, you can't really do that. But I know definitely at some point during the next week, I'm going to go back and try and watch all of those snaps between those 2 guys. So having that front four be able to apply pressure on the quarterback, having them be able to keep the quarterback contained, because they do have a running quarterback, Jalen Hurts, even though the Eagles are probably going to want to protect his shoulder a little bit more than normal. You're going to want to keep him in the pocket, and then your secondary. I mean, Adoree Jackson on Jefferson last week was just a phenomenal matchup. He just shut down an MVP caliber player, which was pretty remarkable considering he hadn't played in about 2 months, and just came in cold and faced the best receiver in the league and was able to hold him like he did. And then having McKinney back there also freed up a lot of people. It allowed Julian Love to make some different plays, and Tony Jefferson was able to make some plays. So having that piece back, those pieces back that weren't there for either of the first 2 games against the Eagles, actually all 3 of them, we're talking about Leonard Williams, Adoree Jackson, and Xavier McKinney. None of them have played against the Eagles this year. So that's definitely going to be a very, very different matchup. You're talking. It's very strange to talk about two division teams that are playing for a 3rd time in basically a month. I think December 11th was the last game. So 3rd time in maybe 6 weeks, and we really haven't seen either of them at full strength and full capacity yet to be able to make any judgments on how these matchups are going to play out. So it's going to be a very, very interesting game.
Tom, it has been a while since the Giants have made the playoffs, even longer since they've won a playoff game. And now that they've done both, if they can win this next game, what do you think it would mean to this fan base?
Well, I think it already means means a lot to the fan base to get here. I think that there's probably an understanding that right now the Eagles are a better team. I think a lot of people in their heart of hearts would agree with that. They're the top seed in the conference for a reason, and we definitely have. I know I always have during these playoffs a tendency to discount those teams that have the bye in the first weekend because we watch the wild card weekend and we're so enamored by all the football action and all the greatness and all the big wins and we're like, oh, this team is hot, this team looks so great. It's like, yeah, well, the top two teams aren't even playing yet, so we gotta wait for them to join the party. So I think that the Eagles right now are probably, I don't know how much better they are than the Giants, but I do know that they are better than the Vikings, better than the Colts, and better than the Commanders. And those are the teams that the Giants have beaten in the last 2 months. So I think that this is going to be a big challenge for the Giants in terms of their fan base. I think the fans are ecstatic about the direction of this team. I think the love affair with Brian Dable is genuine and reciprocated, and I think that they have found in him finally a coach that they can trust and they can believe in and they can put their hearts into. I think they're tickled about the front office and Joe Shane and what he's been able to do, and more importantly what he didn't do during this season, which is didn't break the bank about using future resources to bring in players that probably would have helped this team in terms of trading deadlines or signings or things like that. So they're in really good shape moving forward to improve themselves. And I think that there's a very bright future for the Giants. And I think that the fan base is probably very, very aware of that right now.
Tom, I just have one last question for you. I know everyone always says it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a season. For the Giants and Eagles, it's three times in only like 6 weeks. I mean, do you have any predictions, any bold for this game on Saturday night?
Bold predictions. I don't know. I mean, the bold prediction would be that the Giants win, right? I mean, that's what people are. That's probably what people are expecting the least. Yeah, there's a chance. I mean, this is not going to be a blowout. I don't think. I think it's going to be a close game. It's probably going to come down to a field goal or two or a defensive stop, much like last week's game against the Vikings did, where it was back and forth, and then the Giants went ahead and were able to make two defensive stops in the fourth quarter that really decided the game. I'm a little worried about the Giants' offense having to keep up with the Eagles' offense. But if the Giants defense can slow those guys down and keep the Giants, keep the game under 30 points, I think that definitely behooves the Giants and gives them the best shot to win.
Tom, thank you so much again for your time. We are going to take a quick break and we'll be right back on One-on-One.